Okay, so I'm trying to figure this all out. And I'm not at home, and I have a binder about this thick because I've printed out all of the emails and text messages with Rob Thorington and Suncoast Vans, and his former or whatever attorney, Alicia Buckman, and myself. All of our exchanges. And I stand corrected. He didn't say right away in his email. He said right now on May 11. He said that he had time for my build right now on May 11. And I think they picked up the van from me on the 14th. And then as we started dialing in materials and drawings that I sent them, or no, did I send them drawings then? I didn't in the beginning. I think his girlfriend, she may also be part owner of the company, but I only ever dealt with her like literally in mid-May before they took my van. And she was supposed to have provided drawings, and she provided one round of drawings, no 3D renderings, which they did promise me and didn't give. But she, I don't even remember her name now. Sorry. If she's owner of the company, I only ever dealt with Rob and Joey. Anyhow, so it was on May 11, an email, and he said right now that they had time, they had a slot open right now for my van. And like I said, they picked up my van from me on, I think it was the 14th of May. And I'm trying to do this from my laptop, and I don't have all of my records with me. I'm traveling right now. Anyhow, so he said right now, May 11. And then we went back and forth a little bit in May on, they were giving me their updated quote and all that. I think I gave them my $25,000 deposit by like the 15th or something, either right before or right after they picked up my van. And then there was like another week of his girlfriend, like I said, sent me some drawings that were not what I was looking for. I think ultimately in like June or July, I did my own drawings. And again, when I'm home, I will like put together a PDF and attach it to this video so that I'm being precise. But at some point in May, he said something like they were looking to start on June 2nd. And, I was like, what? And I asked for progress photos. Gosh, I think right around then, and they didn't send me any progress photos. And then they sent me a text middle of June, like maybe the 13th, 14th, or 15th, something like that, said, we're pulling the van into the shop. And I'm like, what? And then much later, like in August, Rob finally admitted to me that they didn't actually start working on the van until the 25th. But in looking back through my text messages today, I found that on the 29th, they sent me a photo of them having removed our prototype build, which, couldn't have taken them a day. And that was on the 29th of June. So I gave them my van, mid-May. And then, almost all of June is gone. So all that leaves is July. And on their website, it says something like, 8 to 10 or 10 to 12 weeks for a build. So already they were going to miss it by at least a month. When he told me I would have it by the 5th, 7th at the latest. So I just can't believe they're either wildly mismanaging their company, which I guess is just Rob. That was the other thing. They had showed 3 builders on their website. And in August, Rob admitted to me that one of the builders left in June. And then Joey was MIA in August. MIA, missing in action. That was what Rob said to me in text. So now Joey was MIA in August. And so it's just Rob. Now they're advertising 3 builders again with different people. So I'm not really sure, like, how many people actually work there. I know when my van was there were only 2 builders, even though they were advertising 3. And they had some other people on their staff that they showed like 6 total people. I never met anybody else. I think Rob's girlfriend might have been at the shop when I went there to measure a few things that I had to have fabricated myself, which were taken off of Rob's list and I handled on my own, which was the bracket for the freshwater tank. And then my friend Tim, while I was on vacation in the Keys with my nieces, he stopped by the shop and spent a couple of days at the shop helping me. I did the drawings for, and Tim confirmed all of that. And then Tim actually picked up the aluminum, brought it to the shop. I think Joey and Rob marked and drilled the holes in the aluminum. Then Tim took it to the powder coater for the panels to put the solar on top of the roof rack, because I needed to find a solution, because Rob was telling me that he was going to take self-tapping screws down into my 80/20 roof rack. And the whole point of an 80/20 extruded aluminum roof rack is so that it's modular. So for him to even entertain taking self-tappers into the 80/20 fully made me lose confidence. So I took that off of Rob's list, and my good friend Tim, whose brother is a metal fabricator, welder, for large equipment and things like that, but decades of experience metalwork. So he drove over from Palm Beach County and helped me, because it was clear that that was not in Rob's wheelhouse. And there's just a whole bunch of other things. I'm going to put the timeline together and include a PDF of all the dates, of all the sources, for all the statements I am making in these reviews, because Rob is threatening to sue me for damaging his good name. And I don't even know how to respond to that, because he owes me $13,550. He's already had me have the stress and the expense of having an attorney go after me, asking me for $5,000. And then she went away, and apparently she referred him to a litigation attorney because I told her, or at least implied to her, I don't know if I said specifically, that I felt he owed me $13,550. And she said that she's not representing him, and she was not representing him in this matter, which she was, because she was trying to collect $5,000 to me, but she's not anymore. So I understood that to mean that she was no longer representing him. But what she actually said was she wasn't representing him in this dispute. And she actually recommended that I get an attorney. So I'm not sure how to take that. Was I supposed to take that as a threat, or was I supposed to take that as some good advice from a sane person? Anyhow, either way, I think it's good advice, and that's what I will do. And this is all very stressful and is costing me money, these threats and attempts at intimidation. And I'm a consumer, I have a right to an opinion and a review. And Rob was correct. I had posted a Google review, and then I got a notification in my email that Rob had posted a reply. And so I clicked that link and I went back and I posted what I believed was a reply to his reply. And apparently I was logged in with my work Google. And so it posted 2 reviews. That was completely unintentional. And I have tried to go and fix that. So on the 3rd of December, he woke me up threatening me. And today is the 5th of December. And I have finally figured out how to remove it. I didn't even know how to remove a review or whatever. And so I have now reposted just 1 review. I have posted 1 review on Google, 1 review on Yelp, 1 review on BBB, Better Business Bureau, and I filed a complaint at Better Business Bureau. And I've posted the video the other day when he threatened me in the morning. And then I've also created a playlist of just my whole experience with trying to hire a van builder. And I'm 2 for 2. Yeah. And, Rob initially accused me of being in his shop too much. And he picked up my van from me the middle of May. I don't think I went to his shop ever until I think after I got back from vacation with my nieces at the end of July. So that's, the rest of May, June, the end of July. And really until he was clearly blowing past my deadline. My friend had flown from California just to make this trip with me. And he ended up flying back to California a month later because I had to cancel my whole trip. And I'm going next summer instead. And so I'm losing track. Sorry, I'm babbling. So yeah, I think I went. I don't think I even had the address of his shop. I think I went to his shop for the first time at the end of July, I think. I may have gone right before I went on vacation at the beginning of July. I think I went at the end of July. And then when it was clear that they were blowing past the deadline, I was like literally frantic to leave. My friend had flown out from California. My partner died in March. And I was taking this trip to spread his ashes. So it was a pretty important trip. And I'm, still in kind of a place around all of this. And I'm not, not meaning for that to spill over onto, either Suncoast Vans or our Van Quest. But, this has been a really hard experience, and the experience with these 2 companies has made it even more difficult. And I feel a bit pushed around by both companies, or just dismissive, like I'm a 57-year-old woman and I have owned my own homes and I've owned rental properties, and I grew up in a family business where we put on a lot of hats and we did a lot of things ourselves, and I'm very capable. And Greg and I were going to build this van ourselves. So, we had a couple years of research into this and had built our own prototype and traveled with our own prototype, and I'm a capable person. And when it became really clear that Rob was kind of floundering, I felt kind of stuck. He had my van there. He had these horrible holes cut in the side of my van where he attempted to put in the bunk windows. And he had a jigsaw nightmare gone terribly wrong on the sides of my van. And he just seemed like, it just didn't seem like he knew what he was doing. And I'll be honest, those last few weeks, I was like, like, what time are you guys going to be in the shop? When is my van going to be ready? But this is well after they missed my deadline. Like, this is in August, and they've had my van for going on 3 months. So I pestered him that last 10 days, 2 weeks, maybe. And even then, like, I always called. I always asked what I could do to help. I just don't even know what to say. And for him to say that I was doing things, like coming into his shop and going into employee-only areas and picking up tools. I never did that. First of all, these guys were wearing flip-flops, teetering at the top of a too-short ladder, and my friend Tim had to buy them a 10-foot ladder so that they wouldn't dent the top of my van by falling. This was not a professional-looking shop. By the time I got to see it, I was like, okay. So my solar panels are laying on the floor with construction crap on top of them. And like all of my neatly packaged, we had everything. I mean, not everything. They had to buy some Victron stuff. They had to buy some wire. They had to buy some wood. They had to buy some drawer glides and handles. But we had so much stuff because we were going to do this build ourselves. So I gave them 20 grand worth of stuff to put in my van, 30 grand worth of stuff. I don't know. Anyway, so he ordered the solar panels, and he ordered the cruising comfort, and he ordered some Victron components. But most of the Victron I already had. All the Battleborn I already had. Like, my light fixtures I had. All the fasteners. Like, I had all kinds of stainless steel fasteners, and I don't see very many stainless steel fasteners in my van, and he did not give me back my stainless steel fasteners. So, not really sure. But yeah, there was no employee-only area of this hot mess of a shop. And when I came there to actually measure this area, because they were telling me my gray water tank just wasn't going to work. And so they were going to not put a gray water tank in. And I'm like, no, we had measured that. It fits in that space. We had already designed this. So of course I go down there with my own notepad and my own pencil and my own tape measure. In fact, I think I gave them a couple of tape measures by bringing them and leaving them there. So anyway, so I designed and had an aluminum, welded aluminum. Anyway, gray tank bracket fabricated. But even then, I brought my own pencil, my own tape measure, and my own notepad. And I got down on their nasty floor and under my van and designed my own. And then I mocked it up out of cardboard and brought it back down and fitted it under there, and then brought the tank and everything to the fabricator. And then I picked it all up from the fabricator and brought it back to the shop for them. So, I don't. And Rob was thankful. He was like, thank you for doing that, yay. And then, of course, there's photos that I posted online about how he actually attached it to the van. So, I think he actually used one of the screws was like a deck screw or wood screw. Wow. So yeah, those last few weeks, 2 weeks maybe, because I was out of town in May, I was out of town in June, I was out of town in July, And I think David and I even went out of town because we went to Miami in August. So, yeah, I think I counted it up when I was having my exchange with Alicia Buckman. And I was like, Rob had my van for 100 days. And because I always checked first before stopping by, I always had a text message for any time I was going to go by. And I think I counted 8 times I went by the shop in 100 days. And those 8 times were probably over that last, it might have been like a couple in July, and so half a dozen times in August. So he said that I was always stopping by his shop, and that was, and they had to put their foot down, or whatever. I don't know what he said. And then interestingly, later, our VanQuest, who clearly had read what Rob said about me, I think, because then they said in one message, one paragraph said that I was making their staff uncomfortable with my presence. So implying that I was, there all the time, which I absolutely wasn't. Besides picking up and dropping off the van, which I dropped it off, or I met Rob there when he dropped it off, and I picked it up for Ian, dropped it off for Ian. I think that's it. The other day I counted on my hand 6 times that I went there to actually see the van. And 3 of those times was literally me delivering the van. So not me there to see the van. I think I was at their shop 3 or 4 times. And they had my van from the end of August. And they did the initial, put in the bunk windows, which they failed. I begged them because I had these terrible holes in my van that Rob of Suncoast Vans had cut. And I literally was desperate and needed somebody just to put the windows in because it's South Florida and it's summer and it's raining and I can't have these gaping holes in my van. I need a sheet metal guy. Rob said that he needed a sheet metal guy because the holes had to be fixed. Rob said Joey cut the holes, and now he needed a sheet metal guy because he didn't have the tools and the know-how to fix the sheet metal that he said Joey screwed up when he cut the holes. And so I was desperate looking for somebody and knowing that I needed a sheet metal person. And Rob actually said that he thought our VanQuest could put him in. So I think I got a hold of, I was calling everybody because, it felt like Rob was immobilized. He just didn't know what to do. This was after Joey was MIA, and, so that was the end of August. Anyway, I initially brought the van over to our VanQuest to put in the windows because I was desperate. There were holes in the side of my van. And then, I asked them if they would have time to look at the electrical in the water because I wasn't feeling confident. And, our VanQuest said, what can he, they were feeling for me, I needed to get on the road. And so, what else can we do? And I said, well, if I could have one outlet and a bed platform and feel safe about the electric and the water not electrocuting me, or flooding my van and those windows in, that I could finish my build next year, whatever. And so they took my van. They had it at the end of August, and I think they had finished that by mid-September. I'm not sure. I'd have to, again, have all my records in front of me, and unfortunately I don't. But then they supplied me with an invoice of all the various things that they did find that were wrong, that Suncoast Van had done, including installing the windows. And that was $3,060, something like that, $3,000. And so, Suncoast Vans owes me $13,550. Plus they, in theory, owe me that $3,000 because our VanQuest had to fix things. And our VanQuest gave me a detailed these were the things that were not done right that we fixed, including the windows install. And Rob got pissed because I was having another shop look over his work. And so, I was just like done with Rob. And by that time, our VanQuest had said, we'll give you a quote to finish the build. And I said, well, I'm canceling my summer trip, so we've got all the time in the world. And they were like, initially thought they could get me back in October or November to finish my build. And I was like, okay. And I had, they had, as far as I knew, they had done the best they could with the windows. I didn't know yet that they were on the wrong side of the van. And that somebody had stuck a screw through the track and the windows wouldn't shut all the way. But I didn't know that until a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, and they said that, one of the windows was crooked and they did the best they could because the cuts that Suncoast Van had done in the walls. So I thought, okay, this is as good as it gets. I'm just going to have to adjust myself. And there were a bunch of scrapes in the paint, so I wanted to get it to a body shop so that it wouldn't rust. And Suncoast, or our VanQuest, said they might even be able to fix the waves. So, I have a little bit of hope. Whatever. Anyway, so I had already kind of decided that, I was done with Rob. And Rob kept telling me he had another van coming into the shop September 1st. That was the reason why he could take my build in the first place, was because this other van had been delayed from Ford. And so that's why they had a spot available for me right now on May 11th. So anyway, I had already decided that, I was going to have to figure out a way to tell Rob that I was just going to have our VanQuest. Because, Jake was really clear. He didn't want any bad energy with Rob and whatever. And I said, okay, I will do my best not for you guys to have a bad energy with Rob. I get it, it's a small community. Sarasota is a small community. The van build community is a small community. I get it. So I was going to try and figure out how to tell Rob. And then I get this text message from Rob, and he's furious because I'm having some other person look over his work. And I was just like, yeah, anyway, and I'm trying to remember the chronology of all of that, but I know in my mind I was trying to figure out how to Rob had a bunch of my stuff at his shop. He had all my wood at his shop. He had all of my light fixtures at his shop, drawer glides at his shop. He had a bunch of stuff of mine still at his shop. I had to actually rent a U-Haul and go over and get that stuff from his shop, bring it back, put it in my garage at my house. And then Jake came by and picked it up from my house. So I was trying to figure out how to get the stuff from Rob, not have there be bad energy between, Rob and Jake. And it was just kind of funny. It was just like, you can't break up with me, I'm breaking up with you. And he said all these things about me, about like I had pushed his professional boundaries. And I'm like, dude, man bun, what professional boundaries? Like, oh my gosh. And when I went with the U-Haul to go pick up all my stuff from his shop, he was just like taking stuff and throwing it on the floor. And my friend David, who was still in town, went with me to help me load the U-Haul. David was like, I don't want to be anywhere near these dudes, but whatever. And so David and I are loading the U-Haul, and Joey shows up to pick up his tools, which was awkward. Yeah, so that was interesting. Where, Rob was like having this like quiet temper tantrum or something. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so there was a whiteboard, and it showed what I have to believe was Joey's hours. And it was like an average of 5.5 hours a day that Joey was working, and that Rob had owed him for however many hours or whatever at that time for the month of August, I believe. I have that photo. I took the photo, and I didn't realize till later that it had hours on it. But I took the photo because it had kind of this is the weekly to-do list, and I was trying to make a complete list for our van quest. So I took a photo of it because it was related to my project. And then later I noticed on the photo it had, so for the entire month of August, I can't remember how many hours it was, but it was like, it averaged like 5.5 or something like that hours a day. And then later when I was talking to my friend Tim, he was just like, oh yeah, they like left for 2 hours in the middle of the day for lunch. So it was just like, I'm pushing his professional boundaries. Like, okay. Anyway, we all have a right to our personality differences or whatever, and they're very young, and they're, very laid back. And, like when I sign a contract and I have an agreement with you, and I've given you $25,000 deposit, and you say that you have time right now for a build on, May 11, and then you don't actually start my build until the end of June, it's going to piss me off a little. It's going to make me feel like you lied to me. And then if you take my van and you, instead of taking it down to your shop, you take it and you put it in a friend's driveway. Like, I could have used my van. Like, I paddleboard, and I have hard paddle boards. I now have purchased 2 blow-up paddle boards so that no matter which vehicle I have, I can at least get out on the water. But at that time in May, I only had the hard boards, and May, June, July, I think I bought the soft ones in August. Yeah. I could have been paddleboarding. My van, all that time from May 14 or whatever it was until June 25th, my van could have been in my driveway. I could have been paddleboarding. Yeah. So, when I get home, I will get together a timeline with all my dates, and whether it was an email or a text, lots of photos, and all the various things I had to remove from my scope of work because Rob either couldn't do it, ran out of time to do it, didn't have the tools to do it, didn't have the builders to do it. I did my own drawings. I didn't get 3D drawings from them. I fabricated my own freshwater tank bracket. Tim, my friend Tim, had fabricated the aluminum panels to put on top of my extruded aluminum, using T-nuts because it's modular, for my solar. Let's see. We don't have undermount lights under the cabinets because they didn't allow for them in their build. My sink is now top mounted instead of under mounted because they didn't allow, and I had a prototype build in there. All they had to do was measure it, and they didn't do that, or they didn't do it well. I actually got a text message from Rom Thorington asking me if he could cut like a half an inch off the front of my toilet seat because he had designed the toilet cabinet too small for the toilet that he had in the shop to fit in the cabinet. So before he built the cabinet, he didn't measure the toilet that was there in the shop. And he must not have measured the prototype cabinet that was actually in the van that had the toilet in it. Because had he measured that, had they done their 3D drawings like they promised, then he wouldn't have had to ask me if he could cut like a half inch off the front of my toilet seat. So tell me, how do you clean and sanitize a toilet seat that's made from, whatever it is, that's MDF or something, once it's been cut? And he's like, well, I could route the edge of it. Yes, sure. So then you're going to paint the toilet seat, right? And then I'm going to what? I'm going to spray that with bleach to sanitize it. How long do you think that's going to hold up? Not only that, but it's going to hurt my tushy to sit on that thing after you've sliced it off. Of all the moronic things in this whole thing, the toilet seat still kind of kills me. The idea that Rob wants to cut a half inch off my toilet seat. I mean, it just goes on and on. And this person wants to take me to court because I'm damaging his good name. Yeah, I think I'm going to take a screen capture of that one and put that one online because I think it just speaks for itself. I could probably remove all the reviews. Well, no, there's just one now on Google, on Yelp, on BBB. And I think I did find some other place online where I could post a review because you know what? I don't want anybody else to go through this. That's the point of reviews. And the great thing about telling the truth is you can say it as often as you want to. I could buy billboards on Tamiami Trail. Ooh.